So, it's new bike day. Awesome! Sun's shining, the trails are waiting, but before you can go, you need to get your bike set up. Today, I'm going to show you the process that we use here at Drift to get every rider ready to roll on their new bike. The first thing to look at is your seat height. Generally, you want to have your seat set for your optimum pedaling height. This is generally when you have about a 30-degree bend at your knee when the ball of your foot is over the spindle of the pedal. This can be a little bit hard to gauge if you're by yourself, so a good rule of thumb that a lot of people like to use is to put your heel on the pedal and then set your seat height so that your leg is completely straight. This will give you the most powerful and efficient position to pedal in and is ideal for road bikes, commuters, and mountain bikes with dropper posts. If you're on a mountain bike without a dropper post, a cruiser bike, or you're still new to riding, you may prefer to have your seat height a little bit lower. This will give you a little bit more stability and make it easier for you to get your feet to the ground. Just set your seat height to where you are comfortable. If your bike has suspension, that's the next thing to set up. We recently did a video on suspension which you can find down in the description if you want to get into the nitty-gritty. But the SparkNotes version is, set your fork based off the weight chart on the back of the fork leg, your rear shock to 30% sag, and the rebound on both to be nice and controlled without being too slow or too fast. Next on the list is tire pressure. Tire pressure can vary a lot depending on your bike, your tire setup, and even personal preference. There is a rough guide you can follow though. For mountain bikes, you usually want to use around 23 to 30 psi, with a little bit more in the rear than in the front. Commuters will often use 50 to 80 psi, and road bikes will usually use around about 90 psi. If you're ever in doubt about how much pressure to use, just check the side of your tires as most manufacturers provide a maximum and minimum pressure rating. The next thing we run through in the shop is a list of essential tools and accessories. Do you have a pump for your tires? How about tools to change a flat out on the trail? Maybe you are out of chain lube and need a top up. We also usually recommend some sort of hydration such as a water bottle cage or hydration pack, fork juice, as well as a shock pump and mud guards for mountain bikes and disc brake cleaner for bikes with disc brakes. If you have an e-bike that has a drivetrain that can pair to your phone, now is also a good time to do that. If you're in the shop getting a setup done, we will also run through some basic home maintenance tips. We recently did a video on home maintenance as well, so you can find that down in the description too. We'd also recommend bringing your bike in for a service every 3 to 6 months in the shop. The next thing you might need to know to get out on the trail is how to take your wheels off. You might need to do this to get your bike into the car, or if you're unlucky, change a flat tire. There are a few different types of axles which you might have on your bike, but the two main types are QR skewers and through axles. QR skewers are simple and easy to use with no extra tooling required. Just open the lever, unwind it a few turns to allow the end nuts to clear the ridge of the dropouts, then lift the bike allowing the wheel to drop out. To put it back in, just line up the hub with the dropouts, making sure that the wheel is facing the correct way. Through axles are not really any more difficult. Many will still use a quick release lever, but some will also require an Allen key, usually a 6mm. To undo one of these, you will just need to unscrew the axle until the thread disengages, then slide the axle out. It can often help to take some of the weight off the wheel by lifting the bike slightly. Once the wheel is removed, it's good to get in the habit of putting the axle back in the bike to make sure it doesn't get lost. To reinstall the wheel, just reverse the process. Removing the rear wheel uses exactly the same process, you just have to deal with the chain as well. There are a few things you can do to make this a little bit easier though. To start with, put your gears into the smallest cogs. This will help take a bit of tension off the chain. If you're on a mountain bike with a 1x drivetrain, you will usually also have a clutch on your rear derailleur, which is adding extra tension to your chain. On a SRAM derailleur, there is a button at the top of the cage. Pull the cage forward and hold the button as you release it. This keeps tension off the chain. To release it, simply push it forward. On a Shimano derailleur, the lever is on the top, which when pushed forward, releases the tension. The last thing to keep in mind is your derailleur hanger. This is a little piece of metal that goes between your derailleur and your frame. It is designed to be the weak point between your frame and the derailleur, so that if your derailleur gets hit while you're out riding, you can be sure that your frame won't get damaged in the process. Because of this, you want to be a little bit careful with your rear derailleur hanger, as bending it, for example if you were moving in or out of your car or leaning it against something, could lead to your gears not shifting smoothly. If you got all that, then it must be time to go ride your new bike. If you still have a burning question about bike setup, drop it down in the comments below. Now go enjoy your bike.